Does the word kindness truly summarise 2024? Well, welcome to Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's a thought.
Time to toughen up. Kindness is a word that means being warm-hearted and sympathetic, and the tendency to be caring and always empathetic. But at times being cruel to be kind is like an anaesthetic and a cure for being pitiful and simply pathetic. Yes, indeed, kindness is deemed to be the word that sums up 2024, according to a Children's Word survey. Oxford University Press, OUP, has said that basically thousands of young people have deemed that the word kindness sums up the year. Well, I query it. I have my own words, and I'm sure you're thinking of a few too, listeners. Mr. Pete, I ask you, do you like the word kindness? Do you think it sums up 2024? Or maybe you have a different word.
Do I like the word kindness? Oh, kind of. I mean, kindness is one of those words. It seems a bit of a weak, soppy word, I suppose.
Yes.
Kind. I mean, in the Bible, it is, however, used as part of one of the descriptions of God, his loving kindness, sort of almost as one portmanteau word. Loving kindness is used to describe what God is like. But kindness has always struck me as seeming a little bit weak. But of course, kindness is actually the most needed thing. And just to get through life, you need people to be kind, to be tolerant of you just a little bit when you make mistakes. Obviously, we don't, but when people do make mistakes, they need a little bit of kindness. And kindness would make the world, if it were more prevalent, would make the world go a lot better. And when people are kind, then not just in 2024, but any year it does go better. But I'm not sure that I would see it as a significant word of that year. I'm not sure who are these people who
I'll tell you.
The University Press are in contact with.
I'll tell you every single one of them. No, I mean, basically, 3,000 children aged between the age of 6 to 14 were asked by OUP to give their suggestions of what they thought summed up the year. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that a generation has come up with that particular approach, mainly, to your point, more of the principle of hope, I'm going to suggest as another word, that they are looking for things where the world needs to be a kinder place. Now, there were some other words that actually came through.
Yeah.
Now, here we go. So one of which was the word conflict. No surprise, because obviously we've seen conflict both in business and, of course, political conflicts, and, of course, Ukraine being something that's still rumbling along. There was another one. Not necessarily one word, but very much one that has filtered into society, artificial intelligence. And absolutely, that's something that we see not just in business, but almost everywhere else with ChatGPT and many other things. That word, I'm certain, is probably, or that phrase is certainly going to continue. But I know that, Mr. Pete, when you think of 2024, I'm going to use the word disappointing. And the reason being is I had high hopes after an election where certainly we thought that getting rid of politicians that didn't know what they were doing was going to help. But that clearly was a disappointment. What would you say truly sums it up for you?
Well, speaking from a UK's perspective, that is true. But from a US perspective, they got rid of Biden and his crowd, didn't they? And maybe Trump should be
relief.
Trump and relief.
Trump possibly,
relief
yes.
By Trump. Well, maybe we'll save Trump for 2025, eh?
Yes.
In 2024, well, there were a few words that I've come across more. I mean, perhaps this was before 2024, but it was certainly used then. Polycrisis, not a fear of parrots. It's polycrisis is when there's lots of crises all at once, and it was used during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember those days? Because things seem to be springing up all over. Doom scrolling was only something I only heard last year. It's when someone has their phone and keeps flicking through TikTok, which looked doomed to end pretty recently. TikTok itself, at least in the US, but that doesn't seem to be happening. But doom scrolling, constantly flicking through videos or other social media feeds on your phone ad nauseum, so that you just end up cycling down into doom and depression. Yeah, that would be something that I think,
Yes.
I would say that that's more sums up 2024, but maybe kindness is something that you would like to happen. I
Well,
understand, though, the Oxford University Press survey, when it wasn't just young people, I think they also came up with brain rot, I
yes.
believe as a word, which, because the usage of brain rot is reported to have increased by 230% from the previous year. So
Ah,
more brain rot going on in 2024, which fits in with the doom scrolling idea, if you think about it.
well, it
So
does.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but amongst young people, I've heard of these other words: demure, um, being more modest, going
Yes.
for traditional; romantasy, a blend of romance and fantasy.
Yeah.
So nice words. Whereas us more cynical older people, perhaps brain rot is more appropriate.
Well, I agree, but here's the thing. Now, here's a slightly encouraging is the word that I'm going to use, which is also the word which is used by Andrea Quincy, a director of OUP, because the director reflected that children's increasing awareness of mental health is something that we should all consider.
Sure.
And in a media interview, she was quoted as saying, "We know from previous years that young people are very conscious of the big issues that can divide us as a society and attuned to the important role which language can play in bringing people together." Absolutely. She goes on to say that it tells us that empathy and tolerance and the language we use matter, and that kindness is not only a solution to so many problems, but it is something that everyone and anyone can do to make a difference. So
Mhm.
here's the point here, which is actually interesting for a generation that
Yep.
has seen a lot of conflict, and they've seen a lot of issues throughout the world, not
Yep.
just in the United Kingdom, but of course, obviously elsewhere. So they're actually taking on board what's going on in their world. And I think that one of the things that also puzzles me is how these constructive words do come about, because there are other ones as well. So, for example, like slay, sigma, skibbity. Now, they were chosen
Yeah.
as top three slang words that the OUP said demonstrated the role of social media, because you mentioned about TikTok. Now, slay is a slang term which means greatly impress or amuse, whereas sigma means popular or successful. So yeah, I mean, maybe sort of kind brain rot, whatever, and let's try and sort of mix them all together. I mean, there's clearly some people who are very good at conjunctive words.
Yes.
I just wonder, we're not quite in tune with some of these things. There's a whole new language emerging.
Yes. There's yeah. I mean, we language does evolve, and how it evolves does have something to say about culture. I think, years ago, we saw with the introduction of mobile phones, in which you had a phone number pad, a keypad with just numbers on to write words. You ended up having lots of shorthand, and text speak became the
Yes.
way that people spoke, and famously people misunderstand and and mistake lots of love for laugh out loud in inappropriate
Oh, yes.
settings. But that was one change of language, and again, it's changing with the adoption of different types of media, and so we can see something about culture by the changes that are made, but that it's changing is just something that happens to language all the time. We're going to have new words coming up, and you're going to be able to spot when you in your youth by what words you keep on using. Although there is one word that seems to keep coming back for being good, being great. When I was growing up in Redditch, as I believe you did as well, I saw someone very much like you in those days. We were in the same town when we were younger. Was the Boston? Boston made. I don't know if you heard people say this, meant it was great.
Yes.
But but one word is cool. if you say something's cool, it's still
That's true.
cool to say cool these days.
Oh, yes.
And maybe that will be your word of the year. If you remember, there was an idea that Britain could be called Cool Britannia back in the day. That was something that was put forward. So hopefully 2024 was, as you say, a disappointing year. Although towards the end we had a good change of leadership in the US. 2025 is off to a good start, despite some unwanted violence right at the start of the year. It's on to a good start generally, culturally. Perhaps 2025 will be a cool year.
Well, it could be. And here's another word that I'd like to offer to our listeners, which is thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. What words are resonating with you, and what do you think will be the word of the year for 2025?
Be hopeful or pessimistic. All contributions gratefully received. Get in touch with the show, markandpete.com. Go there, make sure you're subscribed, and you can comment on this or every episode. But that's it for Mark and myself for this week. Goodbye and catch you next time.